Today, I wanted to talk about the topic of gun violence in America in response to the Virginia Beach shooting that occurred last week. But before I get to that, I wanted to show a picture of Anthony Borges, who was only 15 years old, when he had to jump in front of an active shooter in Parkland, Florida, to save someone's life during the Parkland, Florida shootings a couple years back. And now he's going to have those scars on his body forever. Just something to think about in relation to what happened in Virginia Beach on May 31st. A longtime city employee shot and killed 12 people and injured at least four others after opening fire that Friday afternoon in a public works building in Virginia Beach. And it marked the country's deadliest mass shooting that's occurred this year. The man was identified as Dean Wayne Craddock, and he was a longtime engineer with the city. And that just goes to show that mass shootings can happen anywhere, and they have indeed. If you look at this map, you can see the areas where mass shootings have occurred in our country, and since 1966, there have been 163 of them that have taken the lives of 1,165 people. In these shootings, there have been 313 guns used, and out of those guns, there have been 175 of them have been obtained legally. And I wanted to at least look upon America's history to at least understand what has happened and how it's impacted our country in terms of gun control. Two important events. One of them, the passing of the Gun Control Act of 1968. This happened because in a span of 2 months, Martin Luther King Jr. and John F. Kennedy were both assassinated. And within the 60s as well, included Robert Kennedy and Malcolm X, two other very striving political figures within the United States. And these assassinations that all occurred around the same time, it shifted the public opinion of guns. And up to that point, many Americans felt that guns were very necessary, and it was a celebrated freedom that people had, in fact, for the majority of the country. But leading up to that, the Gun Control Act of 1968 took note of public opinion, and they promptly passed this act, which was meant to subdue the transfer of guns between civilians. And it was a change of pace for America because they had never experienced something like this before, where important people in our country had passed due to guns. And this was a wake-up call for people. Later on, there was another act that was passed that would kind of reverse a lot of the things that were set in the Gun Control Act. But another important act that established a national background check was the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act. This occurred because in 1981, Ronald Reagan had an assassination attempt on him where he was not fatally wounded, but his Secretary of State, James Brady, was. He wasn't fatally wounded either, but it caused permanent paralyzation for him. It even led him to create the Brady Center to Prevent Gun Violence. And again, this swayed public opinion of guns. It not only swayed the public's opinion, but also swayed Ronald Reagan's opinion as well. And two of those acts were pivotal movements where the national background check occurred, and not only that, but the restriction of guns in 1968 occurred as well. And they both had played off each other ever since they came into play together, but it doesn't seem like anything has worked, at least not to the degree as it should. And I say that because we still have these mass shootings occur almost every year. In fact, we do have them every year, a couple of times a year. And I just wanted to at least ask or pose the question, do you think gun control needs to be more strict, or do you think it should be the way it is now? Personally, I don't think so. I think that it should be at least a little stricter, to the point where it needs to be incredibly tough for people to get guns. I also think it should be at least tried out instead of just being completely rejected, because what we're doing now is not working.